Throwdown Nation. It's Matt, and we are back with episode 6 of the Throwdown with Matt. Tonight, it is my distinct pleasure to have with me as my guest, Dre the GOAT. Man, I have seen this young man wrestle. Had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago at the PWE show out in Augusta, Georgia, and man, he just lights the place up. So what I'm going to do before I bring Dre in is I'm going to actually play his entrance video so that those of you that aren't familiar with him can get a little taste. So here we go. Dre, my
What's going
man,
on, man?
how are you, sir?
You
Like
know
I
what I'm
said
saying?
before we went
A1 like
live, man,
steak
I've
sauce.
been awesome.
It's a little bit of
But yeah,
delay.
like I said, yeah, I think we are getting a little bit of delay in here.
Well, so about that video, actually, that video was made by one of my fellow classmates of the Palmetto Wrestling Academy, Linnaeus Peaches. I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna end up going by whenever he decides to graduate. Well, not really decides to graduate, but whenever he completes the program and stuff. But he made that a few years ago. That was before I made my debut. But it's funny because I haven't seen that video in like almost a year and a half now.
Really?
And it was actually pretty funny to see that video. And I was like, wow, that is crazy to see how far I've come. And the crazy part about it, I've hit a lot of those moves. And like the only difference between that clip in real life is in real life, I do a whole lot more dancing. I'm I'm usually dancing, cutting a flip or something, jumping off of
Nice.
something. That's usually how I usually roll. But
Yeah, I've definitely noticed. Looking at some of your matches on YouTube and such, you're definitely a high flyer.
oh, most definitely. Like honestly, it's great that I was able to turn my childhood antics into a career path because you can ask anyone in my family. I was always the jump off of it kid. Anytime I see something, I'm probably gonna cut a flip off of it. If there's a trampoline, better believe that yeah, there's gonna be wrestling matches, flips, all that, and we're gonna get
Gotcha.
hurt.
Oh yeah. Yep. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get into the topics at hand here. And the first and most obvious question, Dre, is how long have you been wrestling?
Okay, so I started training at the Palmetto Wrestling Academy February 17th of 2021. and I train there. I still currently train there. I made my pro wrestling debut October 14th of 2023. So I've been wrestling just over a little under 7 months, a little over 7 months. I made my debut, and as of yesterday, I just had match number 29.
Nice, nice. You know, the next question is going to be who trained you, but it sounds like you're one of Ethan Case's kids.
Oh, most definitely. L's up. Ethan Case is honestly one of the most genuinely good human beings I have ever met in my life. And I am so glad that I had the opportunity and was in the position to find the PWA and be able to do what most people are never able to, and chase their dreams and make it a reality. Because we've since dubbed the academy the Star Lab, because Ethan Case is the star maker. He Anything he touches, everybody he's trained since has gone to do great things, whether it be in the ring as a ref, as a worker, behind the scenes as a production agent, producing. Like, he produces stars not only in the ring, but he we make good people, and that gets you a whole lot more in life, not even just in wrestling.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. I was my last one of these. You know, I had TJ Era on here, and he's also one of Ethan's kids.
Yes.
And you know, I was telling him, um, interestingly enough, probably 8 or 9 years ago, my wife and I went out to dinner at a restaurant not far from where we live, and Ethan Case was our waiter that night.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and somehow the subject came up that he wrestled, and so I got his social media at the time, and I've been kind of, you know, loosely following his career since, and I saw that he opened the academy and everything. And you know, I'm actually hoping to get Ethan on one of these sometime soon, because I'd love to pick his brain. I
Almost
mean,
anything.
uh,
Like, you could have all of the guys from the PWA come on the show, but we couldn't tell you the way Ethan could tell you, because the way Ethan is able to like communicate and express himself, like he does it like nobody's. Like, he's really good at talking to people, and he's really good at making you feel what he's saying. And honestly, that's one of the things that's made him one of like the greatest coaches I've ever had, because I've played 4 or 5 sports my entire life. Well, football, basketball, soccer, and I accidentally won a state championship in track and field one time. It was crazy, but played soccer for 17 years, football for 11, and basketball for 12. And out of all the coaches I've had, Ethan definitely sticks out as one of, if not the greatest, like coach that I've had, that has been able to like figure out how I learn and figure out how each individual person learns, and that information is going to register with and make it stick. And be just that ability alone is like that's we need more people like that in the world.
absolutely. And you know, to have that ability is a gift. It truly is. You know. Um, okay, speed round. Ricochet.
Will Ospreay.
Yeah. I am looking forward to that resuming.
I just so recently rewatched their encounter at New Japan, and it's like you see that match and it was like, dang, that chemistry was just there from the get go.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when I first saw that match, it was like I was watching two Power Rangers in
Yeah.
real life. It was like I was watching anime live action, and
Yeah.
I was like, who made these two? Who turned on the cheat codes and gave them low gravity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the thing that's cool is, it looks likely that we're going to get to see those two hook it up again. And it's been a few years, but man, they've just gotten better with age, and I am
Exactly.
excited to see,
Like to see
man.
what like, especially considering like the last time they saw each other, this was Will Ospreay before he had even became like like the big household name from New Japan and stuff. But when he went on that run, like the heavyweight run, all his championship accomplishments and stuff leading to him like eventually now what he's doing now at AEW, like he's been consistently doing like he's been doing it at the highest level, and Ricochet is like no different. Like he's been consistently putting on consistent performances for the company until like now he's like, well, I'm going somewhere else to do what I've been doing this whole time, and that's being the
Right.
one and only. And that's like,
Hmm.
and the just as like just the simple fact that people are already clamoring for like that like rematch, like for them to come back together and like have that like reunion match. That
Oh yeah.
that alone lets you know like the status of what these two mean to like so many people because like I mean Ricochet's been doing this more like doing this longer than Will Ospreay, but like even then, before I like knew who Ricochet was or Will Ospreay was, there were people that like I was looking at like, what is happening? Like, how did they do this? One mainly Jeff Hardy. He was always my guy. He was always my guy. It is
Yeah.
honestly, I if I had to say if why I'm wrestling for anything else, it's probably because of Jeff Hardy. If I had never saw him, I probably wouldn't have wanted to do this because seeing Jeff Hardy, I don't know what it did to me, but like it sparked something in me that just made me want to cut up socks and paint my face with year-old Halloween makeup and cut flips off the couch. And I did. I just fell in love with it, and it never really like became a reality, like a real thought of like of a possibility until like later on in my life because it was like, oh yeah, in my head I'm like, oh, I have to go to some other place other than South Carolina to go be trained by some big name guy in this other place and pray that the WWE has some connections out there and get there. I never knew anything about indie wrestling at the time. I knew nothing of independent wrestling. And like honestly, I didn't go to my first independent wrestling show until I started training at the Palmetto Wrestling Academy. And I thank the man upstairs for that every day because it was like destiny. I was in college. I did a semester of college and I was like, this is horrible. I don't like this. I really do not like school at all. And I didn't know what I was going for. I was just going because like everybody told me I had to. And I was like, man, I'd rather put my energy and efforts into something I'd actually like do. So I was like, I'd be a pro wrestler. And I started thinking like, I'm gonna be a pro wrestler for real. And I started looking, wrestling school 10 minutes down the road. I'm like, are you serious? This is a sign. I have to go. And I've been going ever since. Best thing I could have ever done
And
with my
absolutely. Speaking of Ricochet, lately I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole and looking at some of Lucha Underground and seeing him in the Prince Puma days. Man, that is some great stuff if
uh,
you haven't had a chance to see it.
Lucha Underground seems like a fever dream now. Like the fact that it was just like so hot for that period of time and then just gone. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Like this
Yeah.
was like wrestling that I haven't seen before, and I was loving it because it was like people I knew, but completely different. And it was like Prince Puma, what is this? I fell in love with Ricochet all over again, and then
Yep.
I was just having this conversation the other day. If he does pop back up on the Indies or pop up in another company, will it be like Ricochet, or will it be Prince Puma? Because Prince Puma as a luchador is, he's one of the best already. Lucha, like, and when it comes to like working that like high flying like lucha style and stuff, like it was something about the fluidity of it, and Ricochet like specifically makes it look so effortless. Like
He does.
he makes it look like it was just, oh, you can't do this. I thought everybody could. Like he moves like a action figure. He moves like a video game character.
He
And
does.
it's like who's controlling him?
Yep. Yep.
It's insanity.
It is. It
My
is.
body doesn't move like
So,
that. Try.
so Dre, at what point in your life did you know that you wanted to try to make a go of this?
So initially, when I was about, I'd say I was about 7 or 8, my cousin gave me a pedigree in the middle of the living room, and I was like, you know what? I'm tired of getting hurt for free. I'd rather get paid for this one day. And that was like the first initial thought. But like, obviously growing up watching wrestling and stuff with my cousin specifically had like all the video games. So like we would play those, and like that's where like my first introduction came. And we spent so much money on the game, so much money on the action figures and stuff like that, until like I'd say about like 9 and 10, they found out that, oh, you telling me that the Undertaker and Kane aren't really brothers? Man, this is fake. I'm not watching this no more. And I was like, wait, so you telling me they had us believing for so long? That made me so much more invested, because I was like, I have to know how they made me believe that this was real, what I was seeing. And like the theatrics and the spectacle, and like I've always been a natural born entertainer. I've never been shy. I've always loved the spotlight. And anytime someone has given me an opportunity to, be in the spotlight, I've taken it. And I've always wanted to be in the biggest spotlight that I've always seen in my head, a professional wrestler. And like I've like, like I said, I've made the fight like the, ultimate decision to make this a reality when I was 20 years old. I was a semester into college, and it was like, nah, this is, I don't really, I'm wasting money and time here. I don't think I really want to do this. I'd rather put my efforts into, you know something I'm passionate about. Which, I mean, on top of being a pro wrestler, for the last 11 years I've been running my own business as a, like, I customize shoes, book bags, purses, wallets, jackets. My slogan is, "You name it, I paint it." I can paint just about anything on just about anything. So I invested a lot of time into growing my brand as Toy Box Kicks for a
Hmm.
while, and then it was like, yeah, this is cool and all, but like, I want to be seen. Like, yeah, my work, people seeing my work is cool and all, but I want my face and likeness and my image and the way I move, the way I talk, and everything I do to be my business. Essentially, I already have one business as an entrepreneur. I want to be a independent contractor, and all of it just intrigued me to the point where it was like, I don't care what I have to do. I don't care who helps me or who doesn't. I'm gonna make this happen. And I
And
thank
you're doing it.
I look, my trainer Ethan Case tells me regularly. He doesn't fail to tell any of us that, like, it's so night and day different from when he started training, and when he was like first started wrestling and stuff, to where we are now. Because it blows his mind that in year one, like, I'm not even done with year one, and I'm at match number 29. He's like, it blows my mind, because he was like at like 120 something, but he always preaches to us quality over quantity. A lot of those shows that he worked a lot, like, a while back, he was taking a loss, like, monetarily. He was getting hurt, and like, he wasn't getting anywhere from it. It was just a bunch of, pardon my language, shit shows. But he tells us like, the opportunities that we get now is just like completely mind-boggling to him, because not only do we get paid, but we're allowed to sell, like we sell merch and sell it like
Hmm.
consistently. Not only that, we're getting like looks from bigger companies. Like the opportunities of getting signed and going places are like very real. And I'm just very grateful that like I was able to find, you know, where I was at. I don't think I could think of another moment in my life that like I could say, yeah, no, that's probably the greatest moment, other than finding the PWA. Because like touching just touching the ring when I first got there, the day one, I was like, well, dream fulfilled. I can go home now. I was like, this is real.
So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? I mean, I know you've got toy box kicks that you're
Mhm.
working on a lot, but what are you? What other interests and hobbies do you have?
All right, so I have been a very DIY person for like a long time. I make a lot of different crafts and stuff. Like it's weird because like I started out making duct tape wallets in middle school, and then like
Hmm.
next thing you know, I'm making like catapults out of popsicle sticks and plastic spoons. So like I do stuff like that occasionally, other than like, artwork. I'm always painting, I'm always doing stuff like that. I play video games, but I usually only play like multiplayer games if I'm playing with someone, because like
Hmm.
I usually play fighting games, specifically Tekken. Tekken is my game. Tekken is usually my game, or Smash Bros. Anybody who want to play me in that, you can look me up. We can get it going. Yeah, I tell anybody that. But yeah, that's other than video games. I'm very active. I'm not sitting still for too long. I always find a way to start moving and going to go do something, whether it go be play basketball or go swimming or go climb something. I'm very spontaneous. I don't know. I'm a jack of all trades, really. Like if you ask, you can ask Florida Man, you can ask Jake Parker, TJ Era, DPJ, all of them that I've known for like the last 3 years and stuff like that. They know that like I do everything. Like if you name it, I've probably experienced it a little bit or know a little bit about it or have done it for a long time. Like it's always a one end of the spectrum thing.
Got you. Got you. So, speed round.
All
Joe
right.
Hendry.
Believe.
Yeah, man, he is on fire right now.
Honestly, I'm when I saw that he was coming to Georgia for Viral Pro, and I was like, "What? He's everywhere. He's going everywhere." Like I was like, "Okay." I saw him in TNA, and then next thing you know, he's popping up in WWE. I'm like, "Okay, so this dude, he's doing it right." Because like like just like the Sandman, just like how I feel about Sandman and New Jack, I loved both of them just because of the aura that they brought, and just like the entrance alone, it was like I don't even care what wrestling moves you do. I'm here. You don't even have to do a wrestling move for real. You could just hit somebody with something, or you could not do anything. Same Santino Morella for that matter. His like character was just so compelling. It was like I don't care if he wins or not. I'm entertained. Joe
Oh yeah.
Hendry has Joe Hendry's figured out a formula for success, and it is proven itself time and time for him.
Yep. He has the cheat code for going viral.
Literally every time he's got the Midas touch. Everything he touched turns
Yep.
to gold at this point.
Yep. 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 So,
And
Dre,
and
what is your home? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like and like having that extra thing like when it comes to wrestling, having that like thing that you can do outside of wrestling. Like he plays music in real life,
Yeah.
and like he's good at it, and he's used that to his advantage in wrestling. I mean, I paint and do stuff like that. I also am a martial artist of 19 years, 9 different styles, but there's a bunch of martial artists. Yeah, that's cool and all. I paint and do my own gear, but like he's got it. He's got it down pat with the music and stuff like that. Because everybody loves a good tune. Everybody loves to tap their feet.
Oh yeah.
Everybody loves to dance, sing along, everything. Like his entrance alone is like infectious. You
Mm-hmm.
hear if somebody hears the first 2 beats of it, they're gonna clap when it's time to clap.
Oh yeah. You know, what I love are the videos where he comes out with a song mocking his opponent and
Almost never.
watching the opponent trying not to break character and bust out laughing. That's
Specifically, there was one that Raylan Albee he had showed me. He's another one of the PWA guys. He had showed me this one. It was back in TNA. He did one on Top Dollar, and he was doing AJ Styles' old
oh
theme
yeah.
song. It was like, you are banned from diving," and I just could. I was like, I'm so glad I'm not in the ring because I would have broke. I
Oh
would have
yeah.
started laughing at myself.
Absolutely. So Dre, what is your actual hometown?
So I was born in Greenville, South Carolina, Green Memorial Hospital. Uh, I was raised. I'd say my that was around like I think Taylor's. Greenville County is a pretty big place. There's a bunch of different like smaller little cities. Like I have family in Fountain Inn. I got family in Simpsonville, Taylor's, Greer, Travelers Rest, and everywhere in between. So like I'm from Greenville. Like I I've lived all over Greenville County for the most of my life, and I've lived in Columbia for about the same amount of time of that I've lived in Greenville, because my mom is originally from Greenville. My dad lived down here. My mom was originally from here. My dad was originally born in Louisiana. He was raised in Philadelphia, military brat, and he made it. They made their way, finally settled in Columbia of all places. Out of it, it's crazy to think that like they settled here when my uncle was born in Japan. They could have stayed in Japan. I could have been born in Japan, and I wouldn't have had to want to go to Japan later in life. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I originally born in Greenville, but I claim Greenville and Columbia, but you know, South Carolina, 803, 843, 864. All I got family all over. Yeah, I claim it
Gotcha.
all. I've lived
Gotcha.
everywhere.
So what is your favorite thing about South Carolina?
Hmm. So I've lived here for 23 years. And I probably my grandma's house. My grandma's house is probably the best thing here because she's always got food. She's always nice to me. And she's always got it like at a moderately good temperature in the house. Like you never go in my grandma's house and be like, "Grandma, I'm hot." Like you'll never go in there and be like, "Grandma, I'm cold." It always feels just like somebody giving you a hug in there. It just feels nice. So honestly, I've been to a lot of places in South Carolina, and honestly, it's not really much of anything. Like, I mean, yeah, there's downtown Greenville in Greenville. There's the mall. There's Top Golf, and then that's about it. There's nothing. There's nothing else. Then you come to Columbia. We don't even have a mall anymore. We don't even have a mall. It's gone. All the stores are just disappearing, and we got a Frankie's Fun Park. And yeah, I think that's about it. Unless you want to go to Five Points, and you can do that in like 5 minutes. So yeah, my
Mm,
grandma house. My grandma house is definitely the best place in South Carolina.
Awesome. I can tell you love her.
Most definitely. I don't know if she's watching this, but Grandma, if you is, how did you figure out how to log into this thing? Because I you surprised me. I had to show her how to make the letters on her phone screen bigger. So I the fact that if she's able to figure out how to watch this thing, Grandma, I love you. I hope you're
That's
cooking well.
awesome. So, they say that the best wrestling personas are yourself turned up to 11. Um,
Almost
so,
definitely.
so tell me about Dre the GOAT and compare and contrast him with everyday Dre.
All right. So I'm gonna tell you this. I I had like an entire notebook full of just names and different personas of different characters that I was gonna portray. And like all of these were like I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like all like I had a bunch of them just like all fleshed out and everything. And I was like, why would I play a character if like specifically the thought that came in my head was I could I couldn't play any other character as convincingly as I could play myself, because all of the other characters that I had written down and created were just extensions of me. Like they were just extensions of things that I already do or things that I already did in my life. And I was like, I've been Dre the GOAT since I was 15 years old. And I dubbed that I got that nickname. Well, so I have like 17 in counting. Like it's a long list. It I'm Dre the GOAT, aka Mr. Drizzle, aka your mama's favorite son, aka your auntie's favorite nephew. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. The game is to be sold, not told. That's the short version. I spared you, but it's a long list. And I realistically, thought about New Jack. Anybody who tells you about New Jack, Jerome Young and New Jack are the same person. There's really no difference between Dre the GOAT and my shoot name, DeAndre Williams. But there's really no difference between the two of us. Like, if you ask my mom right now, she'll tell you like, oh yeah, no, he's been doing this his whole life. He just finally decided to do it inside of a wrestling ring. Cause besides doing all the crazy acrobatics and reckless shenanigans, like I've never had a problem talking in front of people, talking to people. I was actually pretty good in theater class, even though I really didn't. I just didn't like my theater teacher. Theater class is pretty cool. I love theater class, and honestly, anybody who wants to become a pro wrestler, if you have the opportunity to get into any kind of theater or acting roles or live performance or any performance art, public speaking, it will help you, because being able to talk gets you far more than just being able to wrestle. Words to
Absolutely.
word to Ethan Case. I've quoted Ethan Case a whole lot today. But Ethan is like my wrestling dad. Like it's crazy because specifically Tristan Moody, he refers to him as Ring Daddy. It's funny because he says it a lot.
Well, uh, Ethan deserves all of his flowers, man. I mean,
Almost definitely.
he has such a good reputation. I mean, anybody that I've talked to, I bring up the name Ethan Case, and people are just like, "Man, he is just the best." So,
Exactly. And honestly, seeing that as the example for me and all of my other classmates, like that's the kind of like impact I want to have when I meet people at these shows. Like, because making those connections are what this should be about. Like, yes, you want to make the money and you want to be on the big stage. Yes, that is always the end goal. But like, you can do that and make those connections, because the same way Jeff Hardy made me feel, like the same way Jeff Hardy had me cutting up socks and cutting flips off of stuff. I want to have kids out here getting sturdy and doing all that. I want to be somebody's inspiration one day. I want to be the action figure that they see and be like, "Ooh, mom, I want this one. I want a Dre the GOAT action figure." Or when they played me on the video game, like, "Ooh, I'm Dre the GOAT." I want to be that, and like that honestly means more to me than like any like monetary. I won't say that because if somebody gives me that gigantic contract, I'm gonna be like, yeah, but but no, it's definitely about making the connections and making the memories because that's gonna stick with you for life. Like I've had a bunch of like amazing fan interactions to the point where like I go to shows from Augusta, Georgia to Lexington, North Carolina and see the same familiar faces just because like they saw that I was gonna be on the show. And it's like I get choked celebrity. It happened to me. I had a celebrity moment one time in Walmart, and I honestly, I started fangirling. I don't know what happened. They came up to me like I was in the toy aisle looking at action figures, and they came up to me and was like, "Are you Dre the GOAT?" And I was like, "Yeah." I showed up my chain. I was like, "Yes, yes, I am." And like I was just as excited as they were, and like that warmed my heart. I forgot what I was even in Walmart for after that.
That is awesome. So, do you have a preference yourself between working heel or babyface?
So I am like I'm naturally charismatic, and most of the time people naturally want to cheer me because like, I come out dancing and just high energy, and most people just
Whoops, looks like we lost Dre.
A few moments later.
Dre, my
I'm back. I'm back.
man, I'm glad you're back.
I look, I was mid groove. Like I had caught the groove. I was like, yeah, this interview is sick. And then my phone just like I looked at it. I was like, wait, why am I looking at this spinning wheel? And then it cut black. I was like, no, how? How did my phone die? And I didn't know. But luckily it came back.
Well, if um, it wouldn't be a live stream if something didn't go haywire.
You
So,
know, it,
this isn't
that's
the first time.
I'm not saying, look, that's how it is with pro wrestling, because that whole thing about cards subject to change, boy, it can change at the drop of a dime.
It
I've
sure
I've
can, man.
I've been on a show where like the card has changed like 6 times before intermission, and like you start calling one match and then find out you're in a new match, or you find out 2 days before the show you got one match and then day of it's a different match. And
Absolutely.
that's one thing that Ethan has always preached to us, that like got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep. And you've got to be able to just roll with the changes too.
Exactly. Just be able to
so,
go with it.
so tell us about your very first match. How did it go? What was it like?
Oh man, my first match was like a dream. It was like they had told us so many times before, like it's gonna hit you, whether it be when you go through that curtain or right before you go through that curtain, it's gonna hit you. And I was like, okay, word. I'm me thinking that I'm like, yeah, no, this is just another stage. And then like it all started kind of setting in that like, dang, I've been doing this for 3 years. This is the moment that like I'm finna be a pro wrestler as soon as I walk through these curtains. Like I'm finna be officially here. And like I had all the all the times I had practiced my entrance when I was a kid, all the times I had thought about what I was going to use for entrance music and stuff. It just hit me in that moment. It was like, well, all right, well, I put in all this work. Let's go show them what's good. Luckily, I was able to debut against like people that I had been training with like that. Me and DP. My debut match was supposed to be a fatal 4-way.
Mm-hmm.
Me, DPJ, Aaron Berry, and Tristan Moody. Tristan got hurt the week before the show, and in true pro wrestling fashion, card changes, and it ends up being a triple threat. Me, 163 pounds at the time. Aaron Berry, 310 pounds at the time, and Dennis Parker Jr., who was like 260 at the time, 250. The point is, they were way bigger than me. I was the smallest weight wise, but it's tall in terms of height. I was the second tallest. Well, me and Dennis about the same height, but that match was like that'll probably gonna be like a memory that I'll cherish for like the rest of my life, because that match, even though I mean I no none of us cared whether we won. Nobody cared. Like, we just wanted to put on a good show. Like, we were the opening match of this show, and on this card it was Lince Dorado and Jay Rios in the main event. And after this show, we got match of the night just because of the energy we brought and like the electricity in the building. Like, we brought that as our debut match. That is just like that's as good as you want. I mean, and even then, as good as it was, there's still stuff that we were like, oh yeah, we could have did this and we could have did this. But just knowing that like we went out there on the first one and smashed it, we set the tone for everybody else after us. And it's like that match, probably for me, it wouldn't have meant as much if it wasn't for the fact that like last minute we switched rings. So we have two rings at the PWA. We have a 16 by 16 and we have a 20 by 20. We originally started training in the 20 by 20, and then we started moving in the 16 because most indie shows will have a 16. They might have a 20. They might have an 18, but more often than not, it's probably a 16. So we called this in the 16 and plan to run it in the 20. Ropes, start messing up. We won't be able to use the 20. We end up using the 16. Now, I do coast to coast,
Mm-hmm.
and coast to coast in a 20 by 20. That's difficult enough, but it's something that somebody's seen before. In the 16 by 16, diagonally is about 23 and a half feet, and I just so happen to be able to jump that far. So uh, I tried it. I figured out that I could do it, and when we were recalling the match, day of, right, like, it was about like 5-10 minutes before showtime, and we were doing the final call through, and I was like, I need a little more oomph. I need something big. And I was like, we're in the 16. I'm doing that coast to coast. And that has since become my signature move. Like, whenever I go to a new place, whenever I go to places, they always remember me as the dude that jumped across the ring and kicked
Yeah.
somebody in the chest. But yeah, like that, my first match is that's a special one. That, honestly, one of, like, not even just because of the in-ring stuff, the stuff that came afterwards, because this was fresh off of a seminar with Mike Bailey. So, my trainer and him were still, I still had got like connection. They're still cool. So like, he took the time to watch our match and give critiques on it, just
Oh,
because
that's
he
cool.
just because he remembered us from the seminar, and like we had that genuinely good connection. Specifically, me and him had that connection because, as a martial artist to another martial artist, and like,
Right.
everybody's usually doing every other standard martial arts style, but you don't see anybody else doing any kind of capoeira or anything like that. And I've done that for the last 19 years of my life. So like it was real, like it was cool for him to see me do stuff like that he's like, he's never seen, and it was cool for me to see him do stuff that like he can just implement straight into there. But the craziest factor about him watching our match, this was like in the midst of like he's gearing up to face Will Ospreay like
Yeah.
at like in TNA, and
Yeah.
he still took the time to watch our debut match and give us feedback. I was like, well, this is dream complete. If I don't wrestle another match, this is one hell of a memory to have. But
Oh, no doubt.
since then, all three of us have hit the ground running. Originally, me and DPJ were class 6 at PWA. Our Originally there was about 25 of us, and by the time graduation came there were 3 of us: me, DPJ, and D'Angelo had graduated before me, and DPJ like he had graduated a year before us. He was doing like tag team stuff before he broke out and became the singles guy, the belt collector. He's on a run. But Aaron Berry, he had graduated previously and then came back and re-debuted under a whole new look, whole new like attitude. Like Aaron Berry is the truth. I tell anybody that, because there is no reason a man that size should be able to do the things he does. Like, yes, he's very, very strong, but he's out here like cutting full splits and flips and stuff, and it's like, where did they make you? And then you got DPJ, who's like the youngest graduate from the PWA, and he's absorbed all of the wrestling knowledge you could ever like, any piece of wrestling knowledge that there is to find. He's had it more than once, and he's just cycled it all through. He's a prodigy. I would say he's just a student of the game in every sense. Like that's class 6. And honestly, one of these days we're gonna get to run that class 6 triple threat, and that's gonna be a banger. And I can't
Yeah,
wait
it's
for
going to
that
be
one.
fire.
I can't wait for that one. We've since gotten to work.
Absolutely.
We've since gotten to work with each other in like multi-mans and rumbles and stuff on different shows. But you know, just recently, well, actually just yesterday at Pro Wrestling Turbo, the scramble match was just about, well, yeah, everybody was PWA alumni, and it essentially was just a big PWA showcase between me, D'Angelo, Tristan Moody, DPJ, James Johnson, and TJ Era. And we went out there, and everybody that bought a ticket for a seat was standing. And
No
that's what
doubt.
we live. And that's what we live for.
That is awesome, man. So, so we found out about your first match. Tell us now about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Oh, okay. So I've, as of yesterday, was match number 29 in my professional career. Now, this I'm gonna exclude all of my training matches and stuff at the PWA, because there's like hundreds of those, and a lot of those are just us really just having the time of our lives, because like specifically me and Moody, we go above and beyond. Like there's lightsabers, the floor is lava. We go crazy. We've gone all the way out the box. But in terms of on shows, I'd say it would have to be either my match with Rob Killjoy at IWE, or it would have to be, well, I mean, obviously my debut match was pretty fun too. It's always going to be one of my favorites. My PCW championship match against James Johnson, and I'd say my Savannah River Brewery Company championship against Drew Adler, because James Johnson and Drew Adler had been two guys that since I started training have been like just the top. They've been the guys that've been going around. They've been the top guys, and they've been like uncles to a lot of us through the PWA because of how good their relationship is with Ethan, and
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have the opportunity to work with them, and like it was like it is really crazy. But like those matches are probably some of my favorites. Well, it's really hard to pinpoint a favorite because like out of my singles matches, those are pretty much all the singles matches I've had. But other than the match I had with TJ Boss, that was pretty cool too. Uh, I have a tag team as well, Three Dope, and then when we're the trio, we're Three Dope Crew. It's me, Florida Man, and Jake Parker. Started out with just me and Florida Man. Jake Parker just recently debuted, so we're definitely going to be hitting the road soon. Very proud of my brother. But me and Florida Man, we took on Sports Entertainment Empire 2v3, and that was a banger. That's honestly, that was probably one of the most fun matches I had, just because me and Florida Man just like we can't be serious when we're around each
Right.
other. Like, we're always trying to make each other laugh, and it's like it's become a test because anybody else that does anything, we're just like completely numb to it. But like we just know each other, and like we say the one thing, and it's just like, and like
Yeah.
you gotta quickly regain. But honestly, it's hard to pinpoint my favorite. But if I had to give it to one, it'd probably be either my match with Drew Adler, James Johnson, Rob Killjoy was fun too, and out of the tag matches, it's probably the 2v3.
Gotcha. Yeah, Drew Adler was actually my second wrestling related guest on this, and I had the best conversation with him. He is a good dude.
Oh, he is a national treasure. Like, protect Drew Adler at all costs.
Yeah,
And the thing about Drew Adler is the first time I saw him was in the ring, and Drew Adler in the ring is very intense. And
yeah,
like he is an intense human being, and he's not a small human being. He's very physically imposing. And like I saw him at the academy, and I'm thinking that that this guy's crazy, and then he's just the nicest dude ever. And I was like, what? This is crazy. How do you turn it on and off like that? He was like, Ethan's gonna teach you that. And I was like, okay, cool.
yeah.
But
I was when I was talking to him, I asked him to compare and contrast the top tier Drew Adler versus everyday Drew Adler, and he said basically he removes his filter when he goes out to the ring.
mm,
That's so.
oh yeah, see, it's like Drew in normal day-to-day life, he's like the model citizen.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the ring and he's like chugging pre-workout and he's manhandling people, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then he has his knee pads and he doesn't wear them on his knees, and it's like, Drew, what is going on here? You're crazy.
But yeah, I've got Florida Man on Wednesday. I'm
Oh
looking
yeah.
forward to that. That's going to be a blast.
See, the first time I met Florida Man, I knew right then. I was like, this is one of the most entertaining people I've ever met in my life. Like,
Yep.
inside and outside the ring, Florida Man is the most unpredictable person I've ever, like, the most unpredictable entity I've ever met in my life, because it doesn't matter what he does in the ring. You just have to watch what he does, because he's going to do something that is just completely ridiculous. And it's the like most entertaining thing you've ever seen in your life. For instance, in my own hometown just yesterday, he brought a petition to make Greenville, South Carolina, a part of Florida, and got signatures. He did the same thing in Augusta, and I looked up for 1 second. He was getting a signature. He shoved it in this dude's face and asked him to sign it. The crowd started chanting his name. I was like, oh, what happened? He's waving his shirt around like this. And I was like, what happened? I look over and I look back and he's backstroking across the floor. I'm like, what is happening? How did he get down there? Like he is a cartoon character come to life. Like
Yeah.
he's not real. Like there's no way he's real. But then you realize that he's just a true natural born full-blooded Floridian. And those guys are a different breed.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
But Florida Man is my brother. And I love him to
Yeah.
death.
So, what, if you can narrow it down to one or two little anecdotes, what have been some of the most interesting or unusual experiences that you've had in wrestling so far?
I'd say the most, it wasn't really unusual, but like it was kind of odd because I had never met the person before, and they had never, like, to my knowledge, had not interacted with any of my like social media and stuff. But I showed up to a show, and like they made me fan art and stuff like that, and I was like, what? I look out, like they got like signs with like my logos and stuff printed out and drawn on.
Oh,
I was
that's
like, this.
cool.
I was like, this is cool. I'm like, I've never experienced something like this. How did y'all even like know I was gonna be here? And that's where it started getting weird, because I was like, I don't think I posted about this shit. How did they know I was gonna be here? Well, I don't know. I wasn't really too worried about it. They were fans. But
That is
I'd say
cool.
like the most unusual, other than like, the occasional celebrity moment, there was this one there's always this one lady at like at this one show, and she's always there, and she's I don't know if she's related to somebody there or not, but like she's always there, and she doesn't do anything but say whoop whoop, and I love her to death, but I still don't know anything about her. Like she's she dances with me when I make my entrances. I still don't know this lady, but she just says whoop whoop over and over again. And I'm like, okay. She has a shirt that says whoop whoop.
Well, she's the whoop whoop lady.
I
I
that's
mean,
that's literally how I've like described her to anybody. I was like, that's the whoop whoop lady. That's her. I don't know. I at this point I don't even want to know her real name. I'm just gonna refer to her as the whoop whoop lady forever.
that works. That works, man. So, as far as your in ring and your promos, who would you say are some of your influences?
So as far as in ring style, I've like taken like a lot, like you can tell who's a fan of who by the way they wrestle it to an extent, because the way I have a lot of reckless abandonment, you can tell Jeff Hardy was a big influence. But as far as my showmanship, I loved Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels and Jeff Hardy were my top two forever. Like Shawn Michaels was the greatest. I obviously, you can tell my heart was broken when he retired. I wanted him to beat Undertaker, but I really didn't want Undertaker to lose. Like I was very stressed as a child. But
You were conflicted.
I was very much so, because like not only was I a big Shawn Michaels fan, my cousins were big Undertaker fans. So they was like, oh yeah, he finna get Shawn Michaels out of here. I'm like, nah, Shawn Michaels gonna win. He almost won last year and he didn't win. I was so upset. But like, I understood that, he had to retire. It was about his time. But as far as like promos and stuff, I would look into like, people just giving direct monologues and stuff. Like I was a theater kid for a while, so like I was never unfamiliar with a monologue or, soliloquies and poetry and stuff like that. Like I used to do that, so like I'm good at talking with promos and stuff. But then I thought about it. Everybody does that. What's a better way to convey my character and my personality? Me and Florida Man started doing skits, and they've been things that have been blowing up for us. Like for Phoenix Wrestling Experience in Augusta, we've been doing promos like with different themes for a while. Like we did a Jay and Silent Bob series, and then
Yeah.
that was just like us having fun. Like, and every time we would come up with a new idea, it would just and it made us laugh. It was like, okay, this probably translate well. And for PCW, we had a Dragon Ball theme show, and Florida Man died, and I had to bring him back to life with the Dragon Balls. Like, and it's just us having fun. Like me finding the Dragon Balls, and like breaking into someone's house and looking through the woods and all type of stuff. It's just us just having fun. So as far as like promos and stuff, I really didn't look too much into wrestling for those. It was more so from movies and other things that I liked. So like if I had to say like a monologue or a promo like that, Denzel Washington from Training Day. But if it's like it mainly it's been TV shows that me and my friends just happen to like. Like there's a show called Smiling Friends, and we try our best to get as many references into that. And just because it translates to a lot of different things. A lot of people like it, so even if you don't get the reference, you'll probably still enjoy it.
Absolutely. So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? Like a match that you can go back and watch and rewatch, and you always glean something new from it?
Okay, so I can tell you specifically as a Shawn Michaels fan, WrestleMania 25, that Shawn Michaels versus Taker, that's probably one that I can say that I could go back and watch that a million times. And like, it's different now watching wrestling, from back then, because being on the inside now, I'm watching it through a completely different lens. And even now watching it is like, dang, they going. If it's not that match, I'd say this is a real obscure one, but because I had access to the internet, I started finding Japanese pro wrestling, and I found All Japan, and I found out who Mitsuharu Misawa was, Kenta Kobashi, and Toshiaki Kawada, Kiritawe, all of them. Misawa versus Kobashi, Misawa versus Toshiaki Kawada, the Champions Carnival. Those matches, like the King's Road style, I don't know what it was about it that just brought me in. Is like the aspects of the storytelling and the energy of the Japanese crowds. I really want to wrestle in Japan. I really do. I'm an anime fan. I'm a big nerd. I'm a big weeb. So it's amazing. I'm just gonna go over there and do all of the stuff that I'm doing now, and it's gonna be amazing. Fingers crossed. One day soon.
I firmly believe you'll get there, man. I have no
Thank you.
doubt. But speaking of Shawn Michaels, it is funny to me and very ironic that the two main guys from D-Generation X are now running the company.
They
I mean,
won. They won.
yeah, they did. I
Me and
mean,
my cousins were we talked about that at the last time we saw each other at like our family gathering or whatever. Because since I have become a wrestler, they're like, they talk about they've gotten back into wrestling because of me and stuff. And we were talking about that, like, dang, remember when we used to like get in trouble for, doing the crotch chop and stuff, and like
yep.
DX was all like they were anti-authority and stuff. It was like now they run the company,
Yeah,
and
they
the
are the
companies,
authority.
and like now they are the authority, and like they're doing a really good job at it.
They
like
are.
like what they're doing with NXT and well with the main roster, that for that matter, like Bloodline storyline was cinema. Like
Yep.
Cody's story, cinema.
Yep.
All of NXT, that is regular fire right about there. And also, speaking of NXT, it's crazy to see that like guys like Javon Evans and like Saquon Sugars, those guys that like they were like on the rise when I was starting to train and like personally got to meet these guys like Saquon before he was, Saquon, he was Lucky Ali, and I had done gear for him like on a couple of different occasions, and like it was just crazy to see them, like especially him and like Jay Malachi. I met those guys. Like it's crazy to see that like just 2 years ago, I'm just chilling with them in the locker room at whatever show they were at, and now they're signed and stuff. But like, yeah, no, the fact that Shawn Michaels is like the guy over NXT is like warming my heart, because if I ever get the opportunity to go there, I get to meet like the guy. Like I get to meet Shawn Michaels, and the kid that makes the kid in me smile.
Yeah, and the opportunity to potentially sit under his learning tree would just be that would just be priceless.
That would like honestly, I might just cut a backflip if I ever had the opportunity. Like, if I get a phone call and say, "Hey, Shawn Michaels wants to teach you," or Shawn Michaels wants to give you the opportunity to learn from him directly, I might turn into a rocket and blast off into orbit.
No doubt, no doubt. So, and this can include present day or past.
Mm.
Who would be a dream opponent for you? Who would you love to work?
Hmm. Definitely would love to. I would love to get the dream match with Jeff Hardy. I would love to get the
Mhm.
dream match with Shawn Michaels, obviously, just because they're my two favorite that I grew up with. But as far as like stylistics and like whose style I think would mesh really well, Shelton Benjamin, I would love to mix it up with him. And he's recently just been back on the Indies. It's a real possibility that I could somehow, some way finagle my way into getting that one. If I get to work Shelton Benjamin, that'd be great. R-Truth, as far as entertainment wise, I really would love to work R-Truth. Um, Naomichi Marufuji, would love to work him. Not work with him. Will Ospreay, just because like I just really would love to pick a lot of their brains, just because like the way they've created moments over the years and the way they've structured their styles. Like I just want to know how wrestling is for them through their eyes, because it's all subjective depending on who the viewer is. So I want to see how they like what's their perception on wrestling and how they've made it work for them, as well as not just our styles looking good together in the ring. Speaking of styles, definitely would love to get a run with AJ Styles, but if I could turn back I'm working with AJ now would be a dream. But if
Yeah,
I could get X Division AJ or like 2004 Ring of Honor or whatever AJ Styles, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Uh,
absolutely.
who's another one? Kurt Angle.
Hmm.
Definitely would love to like prime Kurt Angle, bald head Kurt Angle, like like perk angle is what the kids call him.
Yep.
I would have loved to definitely get in there with him. As far as those as far as like singles and stuff like that. Tag wise, I mean Hardys. Me and Florida Man would definitely mix it up with the Hardys, the Young Bucks, or yeah, D Generation X too.
Motor City Machine Guns.
That would be magnificent. Honestly though, as far as like for me, I would give that to the Moody's, Jonathan and Tristan Moody. Them versus the Motor City Machine Guns. I think that was like set the world on fire. Like I think we would not be able to handle the amount of like sheer epicness in one place. Uh, let's see. As far as other tags, singles matches, I don't know. I really would like. I really love ECW. So like Sabu, RVD, Tajiri.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Tajiri. Like I do a little homage to him sometimes when I do the sunset flip back over and I give him the kick. I wanted
You know, I always felt like Tajiri was underrated. I
oh
mean,
most definitely.
I don't think he got the recognition he deserved.
Mm-mm. And see the thing with Tajiri was like I'm mad I discovered a lot of this stuff later on because like Tajiri was active throughout like my life, but I just hadn't known anything about ECW until WWE bought them. So like Tajiri was out here doing all his stuff in ECW, and I had known nothing about him until like SmackDown versus Raw 2007 2008, whenever like they included ECW. And I was like, who is Tajiri? And I saw him spit mist for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Because, like, I don't know what it was. Probably my love of fighting games and Japanese fighting games specifically. He looked like a main character from a fighting game. And the fact that he was out here kicking people and spitting green mist. I was like, well,
Yeah.
this seems like the guy. This seems like the guy that I need to pick.
Yeah, growing up as a kid, I remember seeing the Great Kabuki,
Oh yeah.
Spit and Mist, and then the Great Muda after that. You
That's
know,
I'm actually glad you said that. That's another one of another like stylistic inspiration and dream match because like mood is the reason why I throw the Shining Wizard. Like the first time Ethan asked us what moves do you guys want to learn, like the first thing I said was Shining Wizard. I wanted to learn Shining Wizard from the start, and like he asked me, he was like Adam Cole or Muda, and I was like definitely wanted to learn the Muda style, step up off the knee. I loved it, and not only that, him as like Great Muda is epic, but then there's Keiji Muto who is equally as epic, and like
yep,
just seeing like how he can have two different personas and make them work so well because like they're completely drastically different. Like Keiji Muto is just a really cool dude,
yeah,
and and then the Great Muda is like a literal demon, and
yeah,
and he plays them both so convincingly. Stylistically, like I would love to be able to like work with him with it, because I don't, to my knowledge, I don't think he's ever transformed mid match because I'm pretty sure they're two different people. Like canonically, they're two different entities, kind of
right,
like how Mick Foley has four different people, three
yeah,
different people. Sorry, but honestly, it was an idea of mine that like if I ever decided to change personas one day and wrestle under a mask, I'm spitting mist. Y'all better look out for it because I'm spitting mist.
absolutely. It's kind of similar to Finn Balor with the Demon
The
King.
demon, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
See him and a lot of other people have like since done like kind of like variants on it because like what it even before Finn, like Jushin Liger, he had Keishan Liger when he decided to rip the paint. That honestly was the coolest thing ever too. Because like if I ever get to wear a mask, I'm ripping it off with the face paint. I'm waiting for a reason to give me some face paint. Jeff Hardy is still in me, very much so. I'm ready to do it. But uh, like Finn Balor's demon form, like Leo Rush's Black Heart, like Jonathan Gresham has like I forgot the name of it, but like he wears a mask and he has black, ooze dripping from his mouth.
right.
Well, I mean, hell, Joseph Parks for that matter, because I mean, he technically turns into Abyss.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it
I'm
really is.
I remember the first time I like found out what TNA was, because like being a WWE kid, with all my cousins and stuff, all we had was WWE. And I come to my cousin's house one day, and he's got a game case and it's sitting up, and I was like, "Who are these people? What is TNA? Total Nonstop Action?" I was like, "What is this?" And I said Impact across the top, and I'm looking at the cover. I'm like, "Wait, I recognize some of these people." I was like, "Is that Kurt Angle? Is that Booker T?" And I was like, "Who is
Yep.
this?" I was like, "Who is this dude flying through the air? He looks pretty cool." It was AJ Styles. I didn't know who he was at the time, and I was like,
Yep.
"The dude looks pretty cool. Who is this?" And then there was Suicide on the cover of the game with the red and blue. So I'm like, "What is this?" And I see Spike TV on the bottom of the cover, and I'm like, "Is this this is real wrestling? Like this is what?" So I look into it, and I started watching TNA on Thursdays. Well, Monday Night Raw on Mondays, TNA on Thursdays, and then Friday Night SmackDown. Like it just became a part of the rotation, and then that's where like all the fantasy bookings and dream matches came to be, because like after a while, it just became clear to me. Like I'm like, okay, so AJ Styles is like their John Cena. He's their go-to guy. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's gonna be great. And I was like, Abyss is like Kane and Undertaker at the same time, and Mankind.
Yeah.
But then like the real Mick Foley showed up, and then like the Dudley Boys, and I was like, wait, these are people I know. And that's when I started like kind of really like realizing how like the business works. I'm like, oh, so they leave one company and then go to
And go
another
to
company.
another. Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm understanding. And like from TNA, I found out what Ring of Honor was, and then well, also from TNA, I found out about New Japan, and I was like, wait, so there's wrestling all over the world? Like WWE's not the only
Hmm.
thing?
Nope.
And honestly, it was like a blessing and a curse, because like after I stopped watching wrestling for a long time, because like after Jeff Hardy left WWE in 2009, I was heartbroken, and then I rediscovered TNA because of it, which blessing and a curse. Then Shawn Michaels retired. I was hurt, and I was like, it can't get any worse than this. The Undertaker loses his streak, and I'm like, there's nothing left for me anymore. I can't do this. I can't keep doing this. And after that, I was like, I'm not watching WWE no more. And somehow, some way, like some Japanese wrestling popped up in my feed, and like then like some Ring of Honor stuff, and I was like, wait, these are people that I know, like Samoa Joe, Davey Richards, and I'm like, okay, these are dudes that I've heard of before. And then I started finding out about indie wrestling, and then around that time, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and the Bullet Club were popping, and like it
Hmm.
slowly led to the formulation of AEW. So like I kind of came back into wrestling right at like the resurgence of of pro wrestling becoming like bigger in the state, just because like there was more there was like more competition, like there were more avenues to go. I watched it all happen in real time, and now
Yep.
I'm a part of it. It's great. I feel amazing.
Absolutely. So, you're a young guy, so you may not really have experienced this yet, but does anything hurt right now?
All of it, all the time. No, like
like what on your body hurts right now?
so currently nothing at this. So I'd say my if I had to say anything, it'd probably be my lower back, and that's just because whenever I do this leapfrog face buster, and I always land on my butt, and I tend to lean, and I've since corrected it, but like I did it last night, and I landed a little sideways, but ever since like learning how to take a bump the first couple times, it doesn't really hurt that bad. It hurts, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that much, especially considering we're taught how to do it safely. I mean, it
Yeah.
only hurts when you do it wrong, but sometimes it's like it's inevitable. It's gonna suck. Like, taking floor bumps, no matter how clean that bump is, it's still the floor. It's still gonna hurt. Same thing with taking regular bumps. Even though you take it clean, it still does some damage. But
Oh yeah.
I mean, my body, I think it's just because I'm young, my body's still a little resilient. Because, same thing. Ethan tells all of us the same thing, specifically me and Tristan, because we're the two hyper athletic guys that do flips and stuff. He's like, yeah, y'all doing all this stuff now, but them knees gonna hurt when you're older. And I'm like, Ethan, don't tell me that because my knees hurt now. But yeah, I mean, other than like my lower back's not, it's not like a debilitating pain or anything. It's just I just more so just my hip.
Gotcha.
I just I
Gotcha.
just like I got a bruise. Like it was like ring burn mainly. That's that's the main thing that really gets people, like the ring burn on your elbows, kneecaps, and not wearing knee pads in general. Like if you wrestle without knee pads, you're a crazy man. I don't know how people do it. I could do it. I even started wearing elbow pad just because like I've skinned my elbows so many times. It does not feel good.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So, what are your thoughts in general on the current state of the industry?
Honestly, I'm really happy to be like where we are now. The fact that it's like it's no longer like, oh, you have to know somebody specific to get in, or you have to train here by these people to get anywhere. It's like the opportunities are being like gifted left, and not, I won't say gifted, but like the opportunities are plentiful, like for like those who are deserving. Like Shawn Legacy specifically had just recently had the opportunity to go to work with Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. He was over there for a couple months, and like they're I'm pretty sure they're potentially bringing him back at some point, like because he was showing out over there. And it's just like the fact that you like WWE isn't just the only option. Like, oh, WWE is the ultimate goal. Like, you could reasonably go to TNA or Ring of Honor or AEW or New Japan, and like you can get these opportunities to travel the world and see everything and wrestle a who's who of everybody's favorite wrestlers. And like I'm really happy that I'm where I am now in the current state of the pro wrestling landscape, just because like the possibilities are endless, and it's not like I there is no definite set time of how long it could take. It could take 2 months, it could take 2 years, it could take 20, but like just the simple fact that you have the ability to go anywhere. And like, for instance, Shelton Benjamin just showed up at Prestige and wrestled Mike Santana. And then like you got like Donovan Dijak or Dijakovic, he just shows up he's back on the indies. So like now it's no longer like, oh, they left WWE. Now they're going straight to TNA, or they're going to wherever. They're going all over the place. They could go to CMLL, wrestle in Mexico, or like go all over the place, and you could see them anywhere. And that's what I love about pro wrestling, the fact that like the market is so saturated. Like there's something for everybody.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I actually emailed Dijak the other day to ask
Oh,
him about coming on one of these, and he said right now he's so swamped he doesn't have time. But he said for me to message him in a couple more months because he wants to do it. It's just he doesn't have the time because
I can only imagine. Yeah.
he's just covered up with bookings, you know.
Yeah, I can
So
only imagine the life of like somebody who just left a major promotion like that with as much talent and buzz on a name as Donovan
oh yeah,
Dijak or Dominic
I
Dijakovic.
mean, I'm excited to see where he's going to end up because he is a talented guy.
Most definitely. Like the first time I saw him was was his match with Keith Lee at NXT.
Mm-hmm.
It was that match was just like, what? These two dudes are how tall, how big, and they're out here moving like cruiserweights and doing stuff that I would do. And then when I found, you know, back to when I found like indie wrestling and stuff, I found PWG and found out that they did that same match and 10 times more, and it just blew my mind even more. And it was like from that day on, I was a fan of Keith Lee and I was a fan of Dijak, and I was like, this is amazing.
Speaking of Keith Lee, I really hope he can get healthy and put together a streak of actually being able to be in the ring.
Please, yes,
He is so talented. I mean, to be the size he is, but move the way he does is just
like that
incredible.
is, I might say that is like something that's like special. Like
Yeah,
you don't see that every day. Like you don't see that just casually. A dude that could like gorilla press you over his head and also cut a standing backflip and also
yeah,
jump over the top rope and do a hurricane ranas and doing stuff that Rey Mysterio. He's the size of Mark Henry doing stuff Rey Mysterio does, and it's like, wow, how do you
yeah.
get that hybrid together?
Exactly,
Like
and
it's
and
insanity.
and I and I still remember watching him pounce Adam Cole into the third
Oh
row.
my,
I mean,
he's that's insanity. He sent a full grown man 12 feet in the opposite direction.
yep, yeah, yeah. That was crazy. So we're getting toward the end of things here. And this is actually one of my favorite questions. And you're a pretty young guy, but do
Mhm.
you have knowing everything you know now, if you had any advice for your younger self, what would it be?
If I had any advice for my younger self, probably I won't say I wouldn't tell him not to waste his time with anything else. I just tell him to try wrestling sooner, because I started wrestling like at the age of 20. So I debuted at the age of 22. So I no wait, I debuted in 2023. Yeah, at the end of 2023. So yeah, I was 22. But like, had I found out about the PWA uh, sooner, I could have done what DPJ did. Dennis started training at 15, and had he been anywhere else like North Carolina or so, he could have debuted anywhere. He could have debuted before he turned 18. But like the fact that he had 3 years of straight studying to just absorb that knowledge, if I had started like, serious interest in wrestling training at like the age of like 11, 10, like that's how you get like a Nick Wayne. That's how you get like a Will Ospreay. That's how you get a Jay Malachi or Javon Evans. Like those guys have been doing this since like they were knee high to a duck. So like if I'd have had that opportunity to do this, or at least be around this sooner, like at least being around indie wrestling beforehand, it would have been like, it probably would have like opened my eyes to this a lot sooner. Other than that, I probably would have told myself to stop being so reckless. Like I have so many scars on my body just from doing dumb stuff, like stuff that I probably shouldn't have did. Like I have a scar on my back from where I fell off a roof. Now I fell off the roof into a tree. The tree caught me. My first thought was, oh God, I'm not going back on the roof. No, my first thought was, how do I recreate what just happened? So so I fell off the roof and the tree caught me. So the second time I jumped off the roof into the tree, thinking that it was going to catch me again. No, the branch broke and another one broke and another one broke. And then I hit the ground. It was like a cartoon. So I have two scars on my back that are like identical. one from an accident and one from me trying to recreate an accident. Yeah, no, I should have had more supervision. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, Mr. Gravity is a mean man.
Oh yes, and he does not forget. He does not
No,
forget
he does
anyone.
not.
He might let you slide a couple times. He might let you off with a warning, but he does not forget. He does not.
Mm-mm.
He sees all.
He does. He does. So, do you have a favorite move, something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side of that, do you have a move that you won't do?
So a lot of the stuff that I want to do, I just have not practiced it yet. Like I'm pretty sure I can do a 450. I'm pretty sure I can do a 630. I'm pretty sure I can do a Phoenix Splash. So like those are like they're not moves that I won't do. They're just moves I haven't tried yet. And as far as like a favorite move to do, I do this I'll stomp on someone's hand. I'll do my signature little dance. I'll get sturdy. And then I'll wave. I'll do like the arm wave and it forces them to do the wave. And then I'll run up to the top of the buckle, jump off, Hurricane Rana. It's really fun. The whole process and like depending on who I'm working with, like how they sell it and like how they play it up, it usually gets a good reaction and it's just both of us having fun. Like we're literally just holding hands dancing. And like at its core, like it's just like what they're dancing. Oh wait, what? He's jumping off the top. And yeah, I really love doing that. Uh Blue Thunder Bomb's pretty cool too. It makes me feel like I'm like big strong man. I don't know. It makes me feel like I'm really out here lifting.
Gotcha.
Because I mean usually I'm always jumping off of stuff and cutting flips, but like whenever I get that opportunity to show my strength, yeah, I actually did it to TJ Boss, and I beat him. He's gonna see that and be like, "Oh, word!" He's gonna chop me again. He he chopped me 6 times in the same spot, and
Ooh.
I thought my nipple left my chest. They told me it was still there, and I was like, I don't believe you. I can't feel it.
I believe it. There are some folks out there that are just vicious with the chops. I
Man,
mean,
so my second ever professional match was against Diego Hill. Love Diego, him and Bojack. I love those are my guys. But Diego has some heavy hands. My first set of promo pics have red handprints like smeared across, and they're from Diego trying to cave my chest in, and I gave him one back and like it did nothing to him. He ate it. He he ate it. He did nothing to him. I mean, it's crazy though because every time since then in any match that somebody's chopped me, it hasn't hurt as bad, and they always want me to chop them. And when I chop them, they're like, "You could have hit me harder," and I was like, "What is wrong with y'all? Does that not hurt?" Because like my chest hurts. I got like PTSD or something. Every time somebody like rears back to chop me, I immediately like, oh God, please no. I'm covering my chest. But more often than not, it's not too bad. It's just when they get excessive. Like you don't have to chop me 7 times. I'll sell it for you, please.
absolutely. So, something that we've done in all of these is we've given the person uh, on the live stream a chance to pose a question for the next person. And so my previous guest was TJ Era.
Mm-hmm.
And so he posed this question for you, and that is, what are the top 3 companies that you would like to work for during your career? And what would be your goals at each company and your approach to each company?
Okay, so WWE is definitely on the list because of, nostalgia reasons and, like, the name. Everybody would love to, have a WrestleMania match and wrestle in Hell in a Cell and the Royal Rumble, like the names that everybody grew up with. Just
Right.
just to be able to say that I wrestled at WrestleMania or I was in the Royal Rumble, like I would love to be a part of WWE. Like I would never be opposed to going there. AEW specifically because like the talent that's there and it's a that's the forbidden door. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
want a piece of the forbidden door, AEW has it. Like everybody from CMLL to Japan, like we got people from Mexico, people from England, people from Japan, Canada, everybody is there, and it's like a constant like revolving door of talent, and you have the ability to still accept indie bookings. So that's really what I want to do. uh, and definitely would it, I can't narrow it down to any one specific promotion in Japan. I would just love to wrestle in Japan in general, whether it be Pro Wrestling Noah, New Japan, or whatever the case may be. Like I would just love to wrestle in Japan.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, I'll go ahead and let you know tomorrow night's guest is actually a wrestler from Toronto, Canada,
Mm,
named Mr. Marvelous James Runyon. And
mm.
he actually trains at Santino Morella's school up there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, do you have a question to pose for him?
Hmm. Which one would you rather have first? Video game cover or action figure?
Good question. I like that. What would
Hmm.
your answer be?
Easy. Give me that action figure. Give me that figure. I need that right away. I need the action figure day one. Like, I mean, yeah, being on the cover is cool. I'll be okay with just being on the game. I don't need to be on the cover. I mean, it's cool to be on the cover, but as long as I'm on the game, I'll be all right. But if I get me an action figure, like a like a little me, like this is Kenny Omega, but if I had one of like be able to do this and my kids be like, Dad, that's you. That's what I want. I don't have any kids now, but in the future, I want them to be able to be walking through Walmart and be like, Dad, is that you? I'm like, yeah, let's buy it.
That is awesome, man. So we're pretty much at the end of things now. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you'd like to hype?
All right. So actually, August 8th, PWE's back to school brawl in at the Savannah River Brewing Company in Augusta. That'll be uh yeah, I said August 8th already. And after that, I have a couple more bookings with IWE with that throughout the rest of the year in Augusta, Georgia, and well between Augusta and Lexington, North Carolina, and also I'll be working the Taco Festival September 7th.
Nice, nice.
I'm really looking forward to that one. Tacos and margaritas. I love tacos. I'm pretty sure everybody loves margaritas and wrestling. So
Absolutely.
you've heard of a hot dog and a handshake. Now let's get tacos and margaritas.
That works. Well, Dre, thank you for your time.
No, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
This has been a blast. I mean,
Almost, yeah.
I love just nerding out about this stuff, and
Right.
I can tell you do too.
And
And
also, I meant to mention this earlier. That shirt, love it. I love Marty Skrull. I love the
I do
Bullet
too.
Club. When I say honestly, like when the lady said, like when the lady used to like scream whoop whoop, I was like, oh, so you're a Marty Skrull fan. And then she said
Yeah,
whoop whoop again. And I was like, oh, okay. So you just like saying whoop whoop.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping for Marty to make a comeback and get
Yes,
back on the big stage, because he
yeah.
deserves it. I mean,
It honestly, like it was like it was like kind of heartbreaking not to see him like as one of like the first members of the AEW roster or like anything
yeah.
like that. And it's like, dang, I really loved Marty Skrull's work like as an entertainer. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
was like I was all in like when at All In where he faced Okada for the belt. Like I was all behind Marty Skrull as a heavyweight. Like I was all behind him.
Yep.
And then
Yep. Yep.
like
Yep.
everything changed and it was like I then I rediscovered that he was, still wrestling in Mexico and stuff. And I was like, oh, at least he never, stopped. And, it's becoming more and more, like probable that he could indeed make a big time comeback. And I would love nothing more to see the villain back in like a big spotlight in some capacity.
Absolutely. I've been following his social media recently, and he's got this hashtag "We Want Marty," and
Yes.
absolutely,
We
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 definitely
want
want
Marty.
Marty.
Villain
So,
Enterprises all the way.
yep. 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 So
I
anyway,
really
um, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying I really appreciate you for having me on, dog. This like to be my first interview, dog. This was fun. Even with the technical difficulties halfway through, we
Oh
make
yeah, I
we make
mean,
it work.
absolutely. And what I'll be doing is I'll edit it all together and repost it onto YouTube,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'll have to break it into a number of parts to repost it onto Instagram because they've got time limits on the reels.
Oh yeah.
But but anyway, and I'll be editing the audio into a podcast and all that good stuff. But anyway, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be watching this on replay, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, continue to spread the word. This thing is really starting to take off and take on a life of its own, and I'm excited. And Dre, you've got a bright future ahead of you, and I'm
Thank you, man.
excited to watch your progress, man, because you're going places.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me, honestly, because having people behind me that have given me the opportunities to do what I've done thus far is nothing but a blessing. And this right here was nothing short of a blessing to be able to come be on the platform and talk with you because this was fun. And I definitely would love to come back on and I really love the atmosphere.